Hello everyone, thank you very much for having me here. Tonight I've been asked to read from my book, Rewilding an Urban Garden, which is a year in our garden in Shoreham, which has been wild for 20 years.
Oh, well done.
Thank you very much. So I started to do a journal of what all the interesting things that were happening in the garden, all the amazing creatures that were appearing, and I was getting insight into their lives. And after about a year I thought, well, it would make a book. So I got together with an illustrator who did very beautiful illustrations such as these. She's in Belarus. I've never met her, never spoken to her, but we worked together for a year collaborating to do illustrations throughout the book. And I worked with a designer in Bangladesh who did a very nice design for the book. I think it's come out very nicely. And I feel that that wild gardening is something that it is very beneficial in a number of ways. It's beneficial for the person who has a garden or part of their garden made wild. It brings benefits of well-being and spiritual, emotional, mental benefit of having nature not only visited but in your life and close to you. And that might be in a local park if you haven't got a garden. It might even be just a window box, but something wild and native will be beneficial. Brings benefit to local wildlife and biodiversity. If a lot of people had wildness in their gardens, there would be increased corridors for wildlife to spread through, especially urban areas. I think it particularly benefits urban and suburban. And it brings benefit to the planet because wild gardens are more sustainable. They actually sequester carbon out of the air into the earth, so they're actually positively beneficial for your carbon footprint. There's no carbon products used. There's no chemicals used, and so there's a wide degree of benefits. So what I thought I'd do is read out a couple of extracts from the book, because writing the book was such a transformative experience for me. It was very profound, the experiences I had, quite transformative, quite transcendental experiences, and quite funny experiences too sometimes that happened in the book. So I'm just picking out three little extracts from the book, which is on a day-to-day basis. And I discovered that a number of people who bought the book are using it for home education for their children. Wow. And using what's happening, what's happening December the 21st in Gerry's book, and what to watch out for in your garden and in nature, which is really satisfying. So this is an entry from January the 24th. I'm watching the sparrows, my favourite species, as they finally settle down to roost in the holly tree as darkness falls. All has gone quiet. Then I notice one bird hop down to the lowest branch of the tree, do a poo, and hop back up to where it was before. Seems like this is sparrow etiquette. You just don't poo on someone else's head while they're asleep. We've all been there. And now another creature. We now seem to have a pair of grey squirrels setting up home in the garden, where there was only one before. It's a dilemma for me, as I confess to being something of a grey squirrel disliker, and I'm wondering whether to discourage them. Greys often damage trees or have the reputation for stripping bark away to lick the sap, and will eat eggs and often young of small birds. They're bad news for red squirrels, but these have long gone from this area. They've invaded our roof space and chewed stuff up in the past, including wiring. Their colouring seems to vary a lot, ranging from dark grey all over to dusky reddish colour, sometimes with a white underside and sometimes without. Then there are also all white examples known as leucistic, as you'll know if you watch Spring Watch, and all black too, which is known as melanistic. And they all breed like rabbits and seem to like rough sex. 50 Shades of Grey Squirrel. And now I'm just going to read a little bit about our beloved hedgehog. We discovered one night, staying up a bit later than usual and going outside, that a hedgehog was visiting us and was feeding on some mealworms that had escaped from the robin mealworm feeder, which I've discontinued doing because I think it's inhumane. But these mealworms were climbing over the edge of the feeder at night, and they were dropping down onto the ground. And this hedgehog had learned about this and was positioning itself underneath, waiting for them to come down and eat them. So I say in the entry for this is April the 30th, I've taken to standing and watching this creature every evening, often for quite a long time. He's just going about his everyday business, quite oblivious of me, or at least not bothered by my presence. The impact of this experience took me by surprise at first. It brings a most extraordinary feeling of profound happiness, a sense that, just for these fleeting moments, everything in my world seems perfect, that all my worldly worries are forgotten, that nothing could be changed to make things any better. Having this iconic animal here seems like the epitome of wild naturalness. Maybe it's because this species is so rare and therefore all the more special, or perhaps it's the fact that hedgehogs are just about the most heart-achingly adorable creatures you'll ever encounter. Maybe it's all of these. But it's also a feeling of deep, deep love for this creature, for whom we are honoured to be able to offer support. In these moments, I love this hedgehog as much as I love anyone or anything in this world. Standing there watching it, I feel quite emotional. Standing there watching it, everything else is forgotten. I'm in a state of bliss. I could stay out all night. But eventually he wanders off. He always wanders off, out the gate and off somewhere else. But then he'll be back tomorrow night. With that love comes a deep-seated urge to preserve and protect all these creatures that visit the garden.
Yeah.
In the face of the forces that we as humans are relentlessly bringing to bear on them. That's what this wildlife gardening is about. What a privilege. I'm going to stop there. Thank you for listening.